Do you think we are in a position, Liz, where we can safely assist people dying in society?
I really don't feel we are. We look at the last few years and I think I'm going to talk about the state of the NHS in collapse in many ways, which is horrific to hear. We've also got I guess, what happened during COVID, what we saw happening in care homes, what we saw about rationing of services, people like me, disabled people, having DNRs put on them. But because what that shows is the value that I think we put on certain people. Some people are more disposable. And what makes me afraid is what happens then when it becomes easier for certain groups of people to be assisted to end their lives within the medical profession. And that's a big part of this. It's changing the law. It's changing it so that you have protection in the criminal law. And instead, being assisted to die becomes a medical treatment.
And just to clarify, that DNR is a do not resuscitate order, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. I always forget to explain
No, that's
that,
okay.
yeah.
And those who support this, and we've looked at that side of the argument on many programmes in the past, they will say it's about an informed decision. And also they'll say that attitudes have changed in the 10 years since the last vote on this issue was.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I think, with respect, I think that's spin. Because honestly, the opinion polls have pretty much been the same since the 80s on that, pretty consistently. And I'm a real nerd on this, so I'd sort of do know that stuff. So it's usually about 3/4 of the population want this. Because if you say, do you think that dying people should die in pain and have suffering, who's going to say yes? Of course, none of us want that, whether we're for or against a change in the law. So it's those polls will be like that. They haven't really changed. So I think what we get told as a kind of advertising thing is it's not if now, it's when. I don't believe that. I don't think it's inevitable that there will be a law change. But absolutely, we need to make sure that all dying people and people at the end of their life are getting much better care than they are now.
Do you think that there are enough people out there who not only share your ethical and moral concerns, but are happy and feel able to voice them?
I think it's really hard to voice your concerns if you're opposed, because, I mean, I get called evil, I'm a denier of choice. I think actually it's the opposite. I'm not denying anyone the choice. Actually, I just don't want the state and the medical profession to take this on. And so that's one of the big things. But I made a documentary, Better Off
You've got
Dead.
some merch on, yeah. And tell us what that was and what you did in that.
So, I mean, I badgered the BBC from like 2011, and it is a documentary, my authored documentary, on why I oppose assisted suicide. I'm not religious. I come from a disability rights, social justice perspective, and I oppose. And I wanted, on so many discussions, there is no opposition other than a religious opposition, and that upset me, and I wanted to try and rectify that and redress the balance. So the documentary was my attempt to tell a different side. If we're going to do this, we need to hear all sides, and there are people who are scared. And when the doc went out, and now when I post on social media, it's really fascinating. There's a lot more people saying, I have concerns. I think it's a good idea, people will say to me. I wish we could do something, but I don't think the time's right. And I'm really concerned for those who don't speak out, those who aren't articulate or in the media or whatever it is. It's those people that we're worried about, who will feel pressure, who could be abused. There might be coercion. That's the fear here.
Well, I don't know whether you felt nervous about being on telly talking about this tonight, but thank you for coming on, and you have articulated your viewpoint very well.
Thank you. It's always terrifying, and I wanted to thank you for the package that you put together. It's the most balanced I've seen from the news, so I really appreciate it.
I will certainly pass that on to the team, and that's what we try and do at 5 News. Thank you. Thank you, Liz.